Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. I'm joined by Jordan tonight. How are you doing, Jordan?
Very hot, but I'm good, Mark. Good to see you, mate.
It is very hot. Well, we're going to do something a little bit different on the show tonight because there is so many bits of transfer news tonight. I thought what we would do is we would go through it sort of as a chat and with Jordan as well, and just sort of react to it in that way, because there's so much to talk about, from Pogba to the goalkeeping situation, from Varane to right backs, midfield as well. And we're going to start off talking about Saul Niguez, because Saul Niguez is Better Call Saul, Ollie calls Saul. We know Saul, as Romano calls him. It's Saul Niguez. I've got to stop calling him Saul. It's because of that program. But we know that Saul Niguez is going to leave Atletico Madrid, very likely. There was talk that he was going to go as part of a swap deal with Griezmann. And we also know from Romano that 3 Premier League clubs are interested in him. Liverpool fans certainly think they've got the run on this one. United are interested, and so are, we believe it's Chelsea, the third club, but it could be City. The reality is Saul Niguez is very much interested in a move to the Premier League if the Barcelona thing falls down, which it looks like it is. And United want a midfielder. This was from a podcast today. I think it was the Manchester is Red podcast, saying that Man United want a centre back and a right winger, and they've got that. And their next priority is a midfielder. And Saul Niguez, to me, Jordan, would be absolutely perfect. It's just whether United can do it. And also we know, and there is some news on Sancho to bring in. We'll talk about that, lots to get through. But we know with United, anything's possible now after what's happened with Varane.
Yeah, I think Spanish football financially is in one hell of a pickle. They're all barely keeping their heads above water. And these big teams have got to make sacrifices over players that they can get money for, and look at assets that they can move on. And it's about adapting to survive now, I think. Swap deals are good, but ultimately, if they can get money in for some of these players, they're just going to have to do it. It fits the bill for us, because what you said, we're after a central midfielder. We're getting linked to lots of central midfielders. I feel like Manchester United is an easy target for other clubs. If in doubt, throw United's name into the mix, and that will push agents and other clubs to try and do deals quicker. We do continually get linked to him. I remember previously his name's been mentioned with us. You're right about the Liverpool fan thing, especially what's happening there with the rumours of Henderson not being offered a contract, so on and so forth. That I think is, to appease the fans, get linked to a big name. He would be absolutely perfect for us. I think he's got that bite about him in midfield, but that guile as well. That he'd adapt to the Premier League and definitely bring something that we don't have. But Mark, can you honestly ask yourself, Sancho, Varane, and now Saul, like, it's dreamland, isn't it? It's dreamland as a United fan. It
is dreamland, and Jeff says great player, but is he even a DM? It is dreamland, but it can happen, because he is, Varane's probably the most impressive deal that United can do, and they're going to do it. So they can definitely go and get Saul Niguez. Of course they can do it. The interesting thing is that I was reading tonight that Liverpool have had if it's true, Liverpool are looking to get him for 40 million euros, but Atletico Madrid want 50 million euros. I mean, this is a steal. This is still 42 million pounds at 50 million euro. So United can definitely join this race. And I would say what I said on That's Football this afternoon. If Declan Rice is 80 million and Saul Niguez is 42 million, I know where I'm spending the money. And I like Declan Rice. But for anybody who says that he's not a centre defensive midfielder, he can play that role. He can definitely play that role. For me, it's similar to Basuma. It's similar to Camavinga. His best attributes are his tenacity, his stamina, his passing, and his tackling. So he definitely can do that role. Whether he wants to come to United and do that role is a different matter, but he definitely can do that role. Yeah, he plays as a midfielder, but he ain't a midfielder like De Bruyne or Pogba or Bruno, whose attacking assets are what sets them apart. His assets are actually his tenacity. So I think he could come in and do a job, and I think the price is very good. And as somebody said there, he's so energetic as well. He rarely gets injured. For me, for £42 million, he is a player that if Liverpool get him for that, that's a fantastic buy.
Yeah. And again, I look at Fred, and he is an upgrade on Fred in every area of Fred's performance. So where you're saying he's not an out-and-out CDM, well, neither's Fred, neither's McTominay. But that's the position they're being asked to do. The question is, if you were to bring someone like that in, would they do a better job than what we've got? 100% they would. And, we keep saying that we want out-and-out CDMs, but however, if we're not going to sign it out on a CDM, but we're going to sign central midfielders that are better than the central midfielders that we got, players that are coming in that are going to start, not the Van de Beek situation where we bring players in and we're just beefing up an already overcapacitated squad, then I'm all for it. At 42 million, I mean, to get Varane for the money we're talking about, then to go and get Saul for the similar kind of money, it's mental, absolutely mental.
It is. And look, I did speak to somebody this afternoon. Otherwise, I wouldn't have started the show talking about Saul Niguez. And I was told that United are interested. Whether that interest moves beyond being interested, United are interested in Camavinga. Whether that moves beyond that, I don't know. But what I would say about Saul Niguez is that United want a midfielder. And there is a growing feeling that we will get a midfielder. What I would add to that is that with Matic, McFred, let's do them individually. Matic, Fred, McTominay, Van der Beek, Pogba, a new player. There's a feeling that somebody would have to go for that to happen. But at the end of the day, that would be Matic for me, and Saul Niguez would come in. So let's see what happens. I mean, I don't think it's a very easy deal to do, but I certainly don't think it's a deal that we can just, write off just because, United can't do a deal like that. We can do a deal like that. And if his price is being set at what it's meant to be, then we'll have to wait and see whether United can enter that race. Just talking about midfielders, just a very literally hot off the press update about Paul Pogba. This is from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United still working to keep Paul Pogba. It's not advanced with PSG. United are fighting to keep him. Rumours that Pogba wants PSG is rubbish. Nothing is imminent or even close. That is from Fabrizio Romano. So absolutely destroying the whole PSG story there around Paul Pogba, Jordan. What are you thinking about Pogba at the moment? I was saying this yesterday. I had Romano on yesterday. There seems to be a positivity that he will be here next year. Maybe not signing a contract, but he will be here next year.
Do you know what? I just on that, I love when you and Romano link up, because I definitely feel like he opens up that little bit more for you than some of the other people I see him speaking to. He seems to relax and probably says things he shouldn't say because you make him feel that comfortable. The Pogba situation, I think PSG thing was the romance, the guys who believe in sort of fairy tales because they just see that as the perfect footballing Harlem Globetrotter style Galactico link up, that he would go there and it's a natural fit. I think something you said earlier, which is that he hasn't played in La Liga. I think his heart was set on going to Real Madrid and playing out in Spain. So I do feel like if he is going to go anywhere, that is where he's going to go. I really can't see him signing another contract. I know it's all gone quiet. People are on holidays and relaxing after the Euros. There is talk that he's going to negotiate the contract. Now, from an agent's point of view, when you say that you're negotiating the contract, that's you just dragging and time wasting, dragging yourself into the season. The season gets going, then you're distracted by the season, and then it's the season started. We're now just going to wait to the end of the season to discuss it. That is a key indicator to me that he's looking to run his contract down and leave on a free mark.
Yeah, definitely. I think that will happen. I don't think he will go this summer. I think that's good for United in a way because it means we'll have a very strong team to start the season off. But I don't see him signing a new contract. I think we will be left dangling all season that he might sign a new contract. I think the club will allow that agenda to run. And then this time next summer, he'll just go for nothing and we'll all go, that was a joke. But maybe they'll buy Haaland and we'll all forget about it. I think United already know the way to keep the fans quiet. We've seen that. We're going to take you in the Super League and turn our back on the European Cup and everything we did. We're taking you in Super League. Oh, we've made a mistake. Let's buy a couple of players. I think United will just buy themselves out of that trouble, and then they'll get the money back in a different way that you don't realise, which will be out of your pocket. So
yeah, no, and I agree. And just on that, Mark, we are run by these bankers who look at the bottom line before anything else. Pogba's an asset. We've just got a new sponsor, a new shirt that has gone out. They've put him in the shirt. He's plastered everywhere because they know he shifts shirts. When you look at Jesse, I've not seen Jesse in the shirt at all. I don't know if I've missed it, if there's pictures somewhere of him posing in that shirt or whatnot. But the fact he's not, and he's such a, and big on the Instagram and whatnot, suggests to me that they know that he's going to move on. Whereas with Pogba, I think the decision's made, put him as the face of the kit. Let's get him out there. Let's get shirts sold off of his name.
Yeah, definitely. Probably wrong, but maybe Donny wasn't playing too much because he's being groomed as the CDM. Doubt it, though, says Chaos Drive. Yeah, you're totally wrong. You're totally wrong. I'll give you that one. In fact, I need to slip these on to read some of the chats now. So, yeah, let's move on from the Pogba story that's just come out there. We've spoken about Saul Niguez as well. Let's do this one. I mean, look, we're going to be talking about quite a few things. We've also got Varane updates as well. Jadon Sancho, we'll just hit this one quite early because I do want to talk about a few other things. But a lot of people getting excited tonight, Jordan, because there is this this Pro Direct or something you can get your Jadon Sancho shirt with the number 7. So people are like, oh, this is it. This is going to be the number 7. I said this last Tuesday night, a week ago, that he will be the number 7. It's a badly kept secret. Unless they turn around from this, which I don't think they will, he is going to be our number 7. Yeah. But I suppose the question is, I've just read this evening that the deal will happen. Probably not today, but it will happen at some point. There's talk of it being held up because of agent issues. There's talk of it being held up because of United wanting to hold it up. But it is a bit of a weird one how it's panned out with Sancho. We know he's a player, but we can't buy him. We can't show him off as our player yet. But you can get the number 7 shirt.
I just feel like, Mark, that the whole announcement or announcing of Sancho epitomizes the whole transfer. They have literally dragged the life out of it and squeezed the excitement out of it. Now it's just going to be like, great, okay, he's holding up the shirt. Whereas it should have been, yes, this is massive, this is huge. He signed, it's done. But they just squeezed the life out of it. And yeah, whatever's gone on behind the scenes, it was the world's worst kept secret. So why announce it when they did? Why not wait until it was all done and dusted and they could have got on with it? But yeah, that's just our board being our board, I guess.
Yeah, it will happen. I mean, it's just a quick story on that one. What I do want to talk about is the goalkeeping situation. We've got loads to go through. As I said, this is a bit of a new way of doing it on the United Stand. We're just going to go through all the latest news and sort of react to it together with you as well. And there's a lot of news tonight. So this is from the Manchester Evening News podcast. Apparently Dean Henderson is not part, I didn't even realise this, Dean Henderson is not part of the Manchester United training camp in Surrey. The reason is not clear why that is, but I thought we'd seen him training. I thought we'd seen him in the gym training. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's from the Manchester Evening News podcast that he's not part of that. The key is getting a loan move for either De Gea or Henderson. At the moment, it seems like it's De Gea because nobody's going to sign him on a permanent basis this summer. Dean Henderson will be the first choice goalkeeper next season. That's from the Manchester Evening News podcast there. So this has been on social media for a few hours now, that Dean Henderson is going to be the number 1 goalkeeper. And then further by that we'll probably look to get David De Gea on a loan, and presumably because we brought Tom Heaton in to be the reserve goalkeeper, Jordan. So it looks like United have got this wrong, really, because, again, we are like mushrooms, kept in the dark as to what is actually going on. Certainly not a very quick decision has been made there. And it looks like Henderson will be the first choice goalkeeper next season, and will try and loan David De Gea out as opposed to not to repeat the problems we had last year. I said this afternoon, and I'll put my hands up and say, you could read it differently. I did say this afternoon that, one particular journalist from the Manchester Evening News just seems to go on and on and on and on and on about this. Some people say, well, he's just doing his job reporting it. And I would say, well, he seems to do his job quite a lot reporting it. And I don't think he does Dean Henderson any favours. I think he puts a lot of pressure onto Dean Henderson with his own agenda around Dean Henderson because he doesn't read the room. He doesn't read the room. 70% of the United fans want De Gea to be number 1. Continually going on about Dean Henderson being the number 1 just rubs the back up of United fans who don't want him to be the goalkeeper. And I just think this public debate about it needs to stop. I'd rather just find out in the Leeds game he's number 1 and deal with it on the day. Constantly talking about it, I don't think it does anybody any favours.
No, it really doesn't. You're right. It's putting massive pressure on someone's shoulders that's already got a lot of pressure on them. From the second we signed Tom Heaton, it was obvious someone was going to be moved on. There was no reason to have, Tom Heaton's not a third choice goalkeeper. We didn't need that, and we've already got a third choice goalkeeper in Grant. So it didn't make any sense. I really don't know why he's made that decision. I don't think. I think Henderson had a good season, but I don't think he had an unbelievable season where he put a marker down to say I am United's number one. I think in the big games when it really mattered, I thought De Gea played really well, led the line well, and was, you know, a massive voice at the back. I would love to see that combination of having De Gea and two strong centre-backs in front of him. I think we would be really solid at the back, especially with the way Shaw's playing as well. But yeah, from the reports that are coming out, it does look like he's made the decision to go with Henderson. I really feel like there are going to be very few takers for De Gea on the wages that he's on in terms of a permanent move. So again, we're going to be subsidising wages. Is that a position that we want to be in, where we're lending out one of the best keepers in the league to somebody else and still paying 150, 200 grand for the privilege of doing it? It's madness. It's a situation that they brought on themselves. They didn't need to. I said before that people forget, you know, the duties of the youth setup. It is to generate assets, whether those assets are players that come into your first 11 squad or ultimately get sold and used to move on to do other things. I felt like with Henderson, yes, he'd gone to Sheffield United. He'd done really well. At that point, then they should have managed his expectations. Yes, they were going to honour a new contract, give him a new contract, but send him out on loan. Don't bring him back and tell him he's going to replace De Gea.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just putting up a few comments on the chat there. There was one about, I think it was from Nate, saying that we need to let De Gea go because we can't win trophies. Wouldn't have even been in the Europa League final if it wasn't for De Gea. He was the man of the match against Roma. We would have lost that game. So, yeah, look, De Gea in the final on penalties didn't do particularly well and obviously missed the penalty as well. But I think that, look, if Dean Henderson's the goalkeeper, he's got my full support. That is without question. But football's about opinion. If you want my opinion right here, right now, De Gea is the better goalkeeper. I think Henderson. I don't get it with Henderson. I mean, Kev said it many times before. Who is he to start demanding that he should be Man United's number one? Based on what? A good season with Sheffield United. His performance against Liverpool was absolutely capital S shit. Awful. Yeah. The angles on the Salah thing was that I would expect of a 12-year-old goalkeeper. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Now I think he's way better than that, but I think he's just running around with a point to prove, and I don't think that's a good idea. So, but I think Ollie will go with him, and when he does go with him, he will get my support because I'm a United fan. I'm not a David De Gea fan. I'm a Manchester United fan. I'm not a Dean Henderson fan. So he will get my support. I don't think it's the right decision. And also, I think that if we are loaning De Gea, I think it's appalling to have to pay £250,000 a week to loan him out because no one is going to pay more than 100 grand a week for him, and he's on a 350k a week.
Where do you think he's going to go, Mark?
Well, I tell you what, I think loads of clubs would love David De Gea on 100k a week on a loan. Loads of clubs would like him on 100k a week because if I'm Juventus, if I'm Sevilla or something like that, I'd go. I'll give you 100k a week for David De Gea because you can pay that. You're going to pay the rest of it. So it'll be like the Sanchez role. We'll palm him off to get him out of the way, but we'll pay big money for it to happen. So that's the latest on David De Gea. Mojo says if we sign Varane to strengthen the defence, the last thing Ollie wants to do is weaken the best line of defence by giving Henderson the number one. Well, on the other hand, he'll get more protected, I suppose. He'll probably have less to do with Varane and Maguire, so it could work out quite well for him. The next story I want to talk about is Varane. Let's have a little chat about him. So Manchester United have made really good progress on Rafael Varane. That's from the Manchester Evening News podcast. A little bit from Spain. Man United are offering 45 million euros for Varane, but Real Madrid hope to sell him for at least 50 million euros. I mean, if that is true, I'm happy to do it for 50 million euros because that's 42 million quid. So if United can get him for less than 40 million, that's even better. In relation to Varane, Rafael Varane should join Real Madrid's pre-season training on 23rd of July, which is Friday. He should be joining up with Real Madrid. So hopefully we're going to see something really quickly develop with this. And also there are some updates coming in from Fabrizio Romano. Let me just update you on this. As he said last night, Rafael Varane is confirmed to Real Madrid his desire to play in the Premier League. And Man United is a big opportunity for him, but he will be respectful and not go against Real Madrid. What Varane said to Real Madrid is if you can reach an agreement with Man United, my dream will be to have an opportunity in the Premier League. This is the player's position. We'll see what happens between the clubs. So basically, Varane has said to Real Madrid, it's my dream to play in the Premier League. If you can sort out an agreement, I want to go. So basically throwing it to the clubs to sort it out. And Romano also says United want Varane. They're working on it, waiting for the official bid to go in, and then the deal can be completed. It's up to the two clubs now as Varane is ready to accept United's proposal. Solskjaer is really pushing for this deal. He's been really pushing for a long time. He's convinced that Varane is the perfect centre-back for Manchester United, more than any other option on the list. He's pushing United to sign Varane up. So yeah, look, it's how many times you can tell the same story, really. But
yeah,
for me, I said this morning, it's about the price, but it's definitely developed into a nailed-on deal, really, which I still think some people are not really grasping what a great deal this is for United.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. I mean, no one thought it was going to be possible, but sometimes these things happen. The stars align, and you can pull off the unthinkable. I'm just so excited at the thought of our defence with an on-form Shaw, Harry Maguire in the form he was in the Euros, and then a perfect partner to complement him. I just feel like we just got so let down at points during last season by our defence and goals coming through the middle, and the zonal marking and things we conceded from set pieces and stuff like that. And I just feel like a solid, competent centre-back partnership is just going to help the whole team flourish. And we weren't a million miles away last year. In certain games, Ollie kept talking about fine margins. Well, signing those right players tilt those fine margins into our favour. And some of the players that we're now talking about being linked to is just absolutely amazing. So yeah, don't argue or haggle over 5-6 million. If that's the additional that's going to cost, we got to throw it down, act like a big club, and go into the season with good momentum. What we don't want is to make these signings too late into the summer. They don't get a decent pre-season, and then we're on the back foot again.
I think it's a fantastic signing. I mean, somebody just said there, what percentage are you with Varane at the moment? I'm going to say 90% because that's always my favourite percent. But I'm very,
you were 97 the other day.
I know. I mean, I really am probably about 97%. I'm very, very, it really is just about getting that deal over the line in relation to the value of it. United have got to be a little bit careful, but look, one day you're reading it's 60 million or 50 million euro. Today we're talking about 45 million euro, which is less than 40 million quid. I would applaud United if they can get him for less than 40 million pounds, which is about, about 48 million euro is about 40 million quid. So if we can get him for 45 million euro, which is less than 40 million quid, not only is it a brilliant signing, it's a very good signing in relation to value. But to be honest with you, I just want to get it done. And United will always be looking at the best value for money. Of course they will. But for me, even if they spent, 50 million quid on him, which is 60 million euros, I'd still say that's a fantastic deal. The quality of this player cannot be understated. He has won 3 Champions Leagues in a row. He's won numerous La Ligas. He's won a World Cup. He's been one of the best centre-backs in the world for most of his career, and he's still only 28. He's been at Real Madrid for 10 years since he was 18. So I just think he's absolutely fantastic. And I don't think United have had a centre-back like this, probably since the days of Rio and Vidic. I don't think we've had a centre-back of this quality since the days of prime Rio and Vidic. And you can rate Harry Maguire as much as you like. You can rate Daley Blind. You can rate Chris Smalling. You can rate all these centre-backs we've had over the last sort of 8 years. But for me, Varane is going to be straight away up there with Rio and Vidic and Stam and people like that. He is world class, absolutely world class. There's no guarantee that it'll work. I mean, look, Varane sounds a little bit like Varane. We bought a world class midfielder in Varane many years ago, and it just didn't work out. But you can't, I'd never criticise Sir Alex Ferguson for buying Gabriel Varane. What a player! And we bought him to play with, Keane and Scholes and Beckham and Giggs. It didn't work, but Varane is. I absolutely applaud the club if they can get this deal, and I absolutely applaud Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for demanding this deal, because going into the summer, I just felt that it had to be, if you want a new car and you drive, Jordan, and someone rolls up in a nice Vauxhall Astra Sport, but you wanted a Ferrari, I mean, I'm sure you're going to use it, but I mean, for me, this is the Ferrari. This is the dream deal. Yeah, no, this is the Ferrari. You're totally right. It's nice to be linked to these players, and they're the right caliber of players. Far too often we were getting linked to, seriously linked to the 4th and 5th options, and all of us are sitting there going, please don't let it be Ben White. Don't let it be Ben White. But we're actually now getting linked to the players that we won first time round, and it really sounds like these players are looking and going, yeah, okay, I want this to happen. And you talk about Varane must be looking at England now.
get into the Euro final, looking at Shaw, looking at Maguire, two of the best players, not just for England, but in the tournament, and thinking, I want to play alongside those players. So England have done United a favour, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I just saw, we'll put it up on the screen. Interesting. There's no way you just said Varane.
Open my door a sec, Mark.
Yeah, no, there's no way you just said Varane is up there with Rio Ferdinand. I did. And Vidic. I did. Because Varane has been one of the top 5 centre-backs in the world for the last 8 years, easily. And he's won everything. And I definitely put him up there with Rio Ferdinand. And I definitely put him up there with Nemanja Vidic. Because he's world-class, without a doubt. I got Varane's first names wrong. It was Juan Sebastian Varane. What did I say then? I don't even know what I said. I know who I'm talking about. Argentinian midfielder, bold on top. Fantastic player. But God knows what I called him then. If you would give up 2 midfielders for Sol to play CDM for us, who do you give up and sell? Matic and McTominay for me.
Matic. Would you say Matic and McTominay?
Yeah.
Matic and Fred.
There you go. A little bit different. That's absolutely fine. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Varane, but it's looking very, very good. Moving back to them, I'm going to sort of move up. What we're doing here today is we're going through all the Manchester United news as of now. So this is back to the Manchester Evening News podcast, talking about the right-back situation. Trippier deal is inevitably going to happen later during the window, but the preference is to get a midfielder over Trippier. There you go. Interesting. That's what we were talking about at the start of the show. United's preference is to get a midfielder. We've been talking about Sol Niguez. We know there are other options out there, but very difficult deals to do, although Camavinga has been mentioned. What I like about the midfield option, before we go back to the right-back option, Jordan, is that we came into this summer. A lot of people said that the CDM is the position that will define the summer, no matter who we buy. I firmly agree with that, but I suppose we didn't really know. At the moment, look, however obtainable there are 3. Camavinga, now there's Sol Niguez, Declan Rice has always been there. Difficult deals to do, but, it's not like there isn't anybody, and it's encouraging that United and midfield talk is continuing. I mean, if you had a choice between those 3 players, Camavinga, Declan Rice and Sol Niguez, who would you go with?
Controversial. I know everyone's going to light up the comments. If I could go for any of them, I would go for Declan Rice. And the reason is that he's prem proven. He's a captain. He knows what the league's about. And I know other players have won more and maybe played to the higher level. But I just look at that togetherness that England had and that connection that those boys have all had over the summer. And I would love to see that again at United. I think we talk about the class of 92, and it was because they played together on a domestic level, but then also went off and did things on a national level as well. And I just feel like that togetherness brings a squad depth and an intensity that you can't buy, you can't necessarily bring in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's interesting. I personally, between those 3, and I'm just reading some of the chats there, Rice, Camavinga or Sol Niguez. The positive for me is that I wouldn't be unhappy with any of them, because to get nothing, I'd be unhappy with. If we got any of those 3 players, they've all got their merits. Camavinga is young and could be one of the best players in the world. He's also a very good tackler, so you can use him as a midfielder. Sol Niguez, again, 26, experienced, very good passer, very good stamina, very good tackling. Again, you could use him in the midfield. Declan Rice is a ready-made CDM. He's in between the 2. Sol Niguez is 26, Camavinga is 18, Declan Rice is 22. He's a specialist CDM. He is a captain. And he's Premier League proven. I would go Declan Rice. I agree with Jordan. I would go Declan Rice, but I'd be more than happy with any of them. And I'm very happy that United are potentially looking at them. McTominay's better than Fred. McTominay can actually pass a ball, says Scoopaloop. Mate, I don't know whether you actually are Scott McTominay, but it's your second super chat tonight telling us how great Scott McTominay is. And the great thing about opinion is you can spout it as much as you like, but if you're talking shit, it's still shit. So, if Scott McTominay turns into a centre defensive midfield, Scooby-Doo, I'm on board. We'll do the T-shirt. But I don't think it's going to happen. And as for him actually being able to play a pass, my only thought with Scott McTominay, and I'm sure he'd laugh if he was watching himself, is When I think about Scott McTominay in the midfield, I think about him putting his foot on the ball and doing that silly little spin that he does to go back the other way and pass it 5 yards. We all know what I'm talking about here. He puts his foot on the ball, spins, and then passes it back 5 yards. So I don't know about this passing range, but he's certainly not a sat nav. Saul is not a CDM. We see Vinit. This is the thing where I get a laugh. Really, I have another laugh. Really, Saul is not a CDM. We need a CDM. Vinit. You know, football's not for you, mate. If you can't open your mind to football, then it's not for you. It's not. I mean, look, he plays most of his career as a centre midfielder. He doesn't score that many goals. His attributes are stamina, passing, tackling. Yep. Is that suitable as a CDM? Yes. Do players in their mid-20s tend to move away from being an energetic box-to-box player to being more of a reserved holding midfielder? Yes, they do. So Niguez is going to become a centre defensive midfielder at some point in the next 4 years as he gets older and as he matures more. He can easily play that position. Play that position. People get locked in this. He's not a CDM. He's a box-to-box midfielder. He's not a CDM. He's a box-to-box midfielder. And the reality is, all right, I agree with you in relation to Scott McTominay and Fred. They've had their chances. They don't look like they'll ever do it. But there are certain box-to-box midfielders that you know can go and do it. Steven Gerrard was a box-to-box attacking midfielder. And at the end of his career, he became more and more of a holding midfielder. Roy Keane did it as well. Roy Keane wasn't always a holding midfielder. He was more box-to-box. And then when he hit his mid-20s, he started to become more of a holder. Saul Niguez can definitely do that role. So can Camavinga. Declan Rice actually can do that role.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't know why people are kicking off because we don't have a CDM now. So it's not like, you know, it's not an upgrade from what we've got. It's a massive upgrade from what we've got at the moment. So yeah, long may it continue. And you know, at the beginning of the summer and even, you know, the end of the season, there was talk that we weren't looking at a CDM. So the fact that we're now getting linked to midfielders, long may it continue. I hope something does come off.
I hope so as well. I'd be more than happy to take Saul Niguez. And the problem is, you know, people are saying, oh, we need a specialist centre defensive midfielder. We need a specialist centre defensive midfielder. Name me one then. Name me a specialist centre defensive midfielder that is ready-made to come into United's team. Because apart from Declan Rice, who's going to be proper expensive, apart from you know, Ndidi, proper expensive. All right, go and get Zakaria then from Bayer Leverkusen. Because I tell you what, I'd rather give Saul Niguez a go or Camavinga a go in that CDM role than go and get Zakaria, who, you know, has never played in the league before. He's just had a bad knee injury. I like him, but, you know, bit more of a risk. And I you know, as somebody said there, Pisco, Basuma's another one. Bit more of a box-to-box. Definitely think he could play as a CDM. So we'll see what happens with that. Right, let's move on to the next bit of story, which is going to be the back on the Manchester Evening News podcast. They're saying that, I think this is from Samuel Lucas, my gut feeling after having talked to people close to the Trippier deal is that he will join United because the player wants to join the club want him. Atletico Madrid are going to have to sell him eventually. But then he goes on to say that Manchester United would be quite interested in ending the transfer window with Wan-Bissaka and Dalot as right back. So a little bit contradictory there. It's obviously going to be different sections of a podcast. Of course it will. But saying that it looks like Trippier deal can be done, but United wouldn't be too unhappy having Dalot and Wan-Bissaka as their fullbacks. Where do you stand on that, the fullback situation? Yeah. If we got Trippier, would he kick Wan-Bissaka out of the team, or do you think we should not get Trippier and just stick with Dalot?
Yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like they're already leaking their excuse for if the Trippier deal doesn't happen. We know our board are limited on the amount of deals that they can get done. It sounds like they're in overdrive at the moment trying to bring bodies in, but we have to remember they need to get some bodies out. So it's like, I think if they've got time in this window to get the Trippier deal done, they will get it done. If not, they've put the excuse out there. Well, we weren't seriously linked to we didn't seriously want Trippier because we've got two right backs that we're more than happy with to give a go. So I feel like they've just put that up as a facade to just sort of save face. If Trippier does sign, for me, Trippier that just played in the Euros is not coming to United to sit on the bench and just sort of buddy up as you know, with Wan-Bissaka in training. He's coming to put Wan-Bissaka on notice and let him know that he's coming for that first team spot. And I think that is a brilliant thing because we've seen what that did to Shaw. It's brought out the best in Shaw. Some players rise to it, others, you know, fall away and crumble. I really like Trippier. I think he can come in, and even if the deal is done late, he knows the league. He's got that bite about him. He's not going to take time to adjust. He can walk in. He speaks the language. He can walk into that team on very short notice and just crack on. So yeah, I really do hope we bring Trippier in.
Daniel, just before I knock you off the screen, I really do like Leandro Paredes of PSG. No way will United be looking at that sort of player, but I do like him. Just wanted to keep that up there. Trippier for me is a player I've said many a time on this show that I do think we will get Trippier. To be honest with you, if I'm going to be absolutely honest, I do like him. I think he would be beneficial to Wan-Bissaka. I think he could even force Wan-Bissaka out of the team. And I think he's another player that is going to bring a lot of experience. I think he's 30. He's just won La Liga. He's just played in the Euros. He's not a left back. I don't care what anybody says. He's not a backup left back. He's a right back. And yeah, he's an interesting signing if the price is right. But I don't want to pay any more than 20 million quid for him. And to be honest, and I will be honest, if it's a choice between Trippier for 20 million and Wan-Bissaka, and then, or it's keep Dalot and use that 20 million towards an even better midfielder, I'll go with Dalot. I will go with Dalot and Wan-Bissaka and not bother with Trippier, because it worries me about, I mean, Dennis just says here, it's a good point. Dalot is young and hungry. Let him fight it out with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They've got strengths and weaknesses. It feels to me like Ollie's just written him off a little bit in relation to Dalot. It feels like he's just decided he doesn't rate him. But then you've got someone like Ancelotti, and Fabrizio Romano said this on the show yesterday. Ancelotti believes that Dalot can be one of the best right backs in Europe. So, I mean, with all due respect, I want Ollie to do well. But if Ancelotti and Ollie are sat in front of me and they're selling me a car and Ollie's going, it's no good. And then Ancelotti's saying, I'm telling you now, that car there is going to be the best drive of your life. You just got to get used to it. And Ollie's going, no, it's no good. It's no good. I'm going to listen to Ancelotti, and not just because he's Italian, and I think Italian cars are fantastic. I just would, I would trust Ancelotti's opinion on this one. And but it feels like Dalot will end up going, Jordan, and he wants to go with Trippier. And again, it's another. I mean, I don't know whether it's coincidental. People will start shouting Brexit FC, but it's another English player being brought in, and it's another foreign player being moved out.
Yeah, I think this one is. I do agree with you that does tend to happen, but I feel this one is slightly different. I feel like Trippier at the price that he is, and the age he is, he's definitely still got a lot to offer us. So it is something that I would like to do. However, I don't think it's a massive problem area. You're right. If we could stick with Dalot and spend the extra 20 million to bring a Declan Rice in and then Diddy in or someone like that into the midfield, I would rather spend the money and do that. Similar for me, it's sort of the similar bracket to the goalkeeping thing. It isn't a problem that they needed to have created now. We're on about giving Ollie time and him letting him build over a couple of transfer windows. He should have prioritised what he needed to do now in this window and maybe looked at the right back, the goalkeeping headache and stuff, next summer, rather than trying to do it all in this summer.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what happens with that, but I do think we'll probably end up with Trippier, and I do think we'll probably end. I mean, the silly thing is, if you're going to get Trippier, get the money for Trippier from selling Dalot. It's a bit like the goalkeeping situation. Yeah. This summer, I expected us to raise 40 million from selling Henderson or De Gea. Now, for me, it would have been Henderson, but look, if it's De Gea, it's De Gea. At least you get the money and you make a decision. I've got to respect that. Unfortunately, we already know we ain't getting that 40 million because we're not selling one of the goalkeepers, and I think that's poor. I'd say the same about the right back situation. Get Trippier for 20 million, absolutely fine, but make sure you sell Dalot for 20 million. Don't loan Dalot out for another year and then spend 20 million on Trippier, because all you're doing is you're just expanding this massive squad that we've got that we never seem to be able to offload players on. So if that's going to happen with Trippier, I hope that we are going to end up selling Dalot, because you can't just keep carrying on with this sort of players. Interesting line again from the Manchester Evening Podcast. Don't know where to start with this one. Obviously, they were asked on there what the future is for Phil Jones. Don't read this the way it sounds. This is the quote. It's not mine. Phil Jones is unsellable. Now, when you say those words, you start thinking about Barcelona saying Lionel Messi is unsellable, or Man City, Kevin De Bruyne is unsellable. I don't think that's the way the quote is meant when they say Phil Jones is unsellable. It's not because United won't sell him at any price. It's because no one will buy him at any price. It's a sad state of affairs because he's still got about 25 years left on his contract.
Oh, let the guy live. Let him live. He's
bloody living. He's bloody living a better life than his. He's on 80 grand a week, mate. He's been on 80. Where is he? Where the bloody hell is he? Last seen before COVID. Where is he? What's he doing?
He can't even show up for this pre-season now. I watched the Derby game the other day and just expected him to show his face on the bench, anything. Giving out bottles of water during the water break, anything. I just wanted to see him. Nowhere to be seen. Absolutely.
He's not on the. I don't think he's on the. I don't think he's in Surrey as well. I don't think he's with the team training. Where, on a serious note, what is the situation with Phil Jones? Has he, seriously? Because if he has got we live in a world of this now. If he's got mental health issues or something like that, then the fans need to know, because I've said this before. We can all take the piss out of the pink boots, and we can all take the piss out of him, how much he earns, and we can all take piss out of him out of his injury record. But when it was trending on Twitter ahead of the Wolves game that he was going to play at centre-back, I was actually, you're all joking, going, no, not Phil Jones, and all the pictures come out. But I've got to be honest, I was low-key excited. I was like, this is a meaningless game, and Phil Jones is going to play. And yeah, as in the footballing terms, he's a bit of a clown, but he's our clown. I would be really sad if Phil Jones went. There's something about him.
he's our clown.
But no, he is. I would be sad if Phil Jones was running around for Newcastle. I'm sure he'd be over the moon. I'm sure he'd be really happy about it. But there is a large part of affection with me for Phil Jones. I don't think he's a very good footballer, but there's something about Phil Jones that he's ours, and it's only ever been sort of banter from my side, and I think it's only really banter from a lot of people. I don't think we've had some players at this club, Di Maria and Tevez, and you get out of our club, and even Alexis Sanchez. It's like get lost, but I don't think there's no bad feeling towards Phil Jones. I just think it's become a bit of a joke, because if it's not a joke, it becomes very hard to fathom. And this situation with Phil Jones, I think he was last fit just before COVID, the first COVID. Yeah. So March 2020. He's been out for 18 months nearly. I really thought he'd be pre-season training, and he's not again. I don't know.
Yeah, and you're right that, the stuff got put out there, from the club and from a personal point of view with Lingard, that he was struggling, he had stuff going on. As fans, you just want to know that your players are okay and that they're doing well. I would love to see. I know you're saying you don't want to. He's our clown. You don't want to see him play for someone else. But I would be happy to see him with a Newcastle shirt on, or I don't know, a Burnley shirt on, and see him playing and back doing what he loves, and him happy. There's no.
I'd be happy to see him in a bloody Tesco shirt pushing trolleys, to be honest with you. But
there's no point in him.
Yeah, he'd get injured doing that. It'd be way too dangerous for him. Oh, it's gone over my foot. Oh, fell over.
There's no point in him sit there collecting 150 sacks of sand, at Carrington, and never seeing daylight. He needs to go and play football. He's still young. How old is he now? He's not even,
God knows. I don't. I've got to Google this. I don't even know. I mean, Phil Jones. Then it automates injury history. Oh, I'm not even joking. When you type Phil Jones on Google, you get Phil Jones face, Phil Jones injury history, Phil Jones age, Phil Jones contract, Phil Jones injury, Phil Jones funny face. Nothing about Phil Jones goal, Phil Jones England caps. I mean, that just tells you a lot, doesn't it? That's the top 5 that come up. 29. He's just turned 29.
29. He's got something to offer someone. Don't say Tesco's, Mark. He's got something to offer someone as a footballer. At some level. At some level. I'm not saying top 5, 10 Premier League. He could go up to but he could go up to the SPL and have an absolute blinder up there.
I wouldn't trust him to get there. You'd have to bubble wrap him. But he's, I don't know. I don't know what his injury status is at the moment, because he was meant to be fit, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. He's unsellable. That's what we do know. But yeah, he should be fit. I mean, the last injury he picked up was on COVID. I think he actually got injured on COVID break, actually, the first one. And he's not training again now. So He's unsellable. I tell you what, let's be absolutely honest. You know why he's unsellable? His injury record. That's what it is. Somebody, if he could stay fit, you're right. Somebody would go, he's got something to offer somewhere. Swindon, something like that. Somebody would go for him. But
surely Rooney would take him at Derby.
Probably would do. He likes him. I think they get on quite well.
Yeah, they get on well. So I mean, he would take him. But I'll tell you what's ready is you got what worrying. Jimenez is gone, broke his skull, and he's back before Jones. That's worrying.
It's not even a joke. His injury record is appalling, and we never should have given him. I mean, this is not on Ollie. It happened and was organised before Ollie. This is definitely on the board. They gave him a 5-year contract, and I think that was 2 years ago, and or maybe would it be 2 years ago? 3 years ago, and he's still got a lot of that contract left to go. No, it would have been 2 years ago. Yeah, so he's still got 3 years of it to go, which is just unbelievable, really. But yeah, he's unsellable because of his injury record. Definitely, that's what that's all about. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Let's move on to the next bit of news. So Romano saying that Eduardo Camavinga will leave Rennes if any club reaches an agreement with Rennes for transfer. Camavinga is open to joining that club this summer. If not, he can pick his next club next summer when he'll be a free agent. So that's from Fabrizio Romano. What that basically means is that Camavinga will leave Rennes this summer if Rennes get an offer that they want, and that would be about £25 million. If Rennes don't get an offer, then he will make his mind up when his contract runs down in a year's time. For me, this just means this is just a little bit weird to me, because it's just like, why would you not just put the offer in? It feels like United are monitoring it. It feels like there's a little bit more to it than that, because if it was as simple as he will leave if you put the offer in, why not just put the offer in?
Yeah, no, 25 million, it just seems like patterns in some of the prices are being quoted now. The concern is he going to come in, and is he a big enough player for Ollie to go, he's better than what I got? I worry about him. I think for us, we would look at him and go, what are those? Fred or McTominay have got to go, and Camavinga's ready to start. I don't think Ollie starts one of those, drops one of those two for Camavinga to start. That's the concern.
Yeah. And I think that is a fair point, really, because we've spoken about it for so long. McFred, Ollie likes McFred. I mean, he might be one of the only people who does, but unfortunately, he's the manager of the club on that one. And I want him to be manager, but I don't want him to pick McFred all the time. But no, I would buy Camavinga, but we're going to have to remove somebody, and I don't want Donny to go. Where do you stand on Donny, actually? What are you thinking about
that? I think we've massively let him down, and potentially have damaged our reputation with Ajax as a club for the way we've handled him. We've always had a good relationship with Ajax. Obviously, Van der Sar's there. They ain't going to want to send us any of their players anytime soon because of the way we've mismanaged Van der Beek. I think it's a massive letdown. However, what I would say is, if Ollie genuinely has no intention of using him next season, then now is the time to do something with him while he still has a value. The reason our squad is so big is that we fail to move players on at a time where they're still holding some level of value. So then it gets to the point where it's like, well, actually, if we're only being offered that for him, we'll just sit on him. And that's what's happening. That's why this the squad size just keeps swelling and swelling, because as fans, we keep crying out for new bodies to come in, but no bodies are going out the door. So that is the issue. So I feel like it's a question Ollie needs to make. If we brought him in and he wasn't the right thing to bring in, and we've got no intention to use him next season, while he still holds a level of value, then yeah, let's move him on. Definitely.
Somebody just tweeted us on Twitter, funnily enough, because that's where you do tweeting. Big shout out to at FMR MUF fan and Teneze. So basically, there's an article in ESPN today. Manchester United's McFred under threat as Solskjaer goes on the attack. Yeah, we should be charging copyright because McFred was born on this channel and it was Beth who started it. So, yeah, they're nicking our catchphrases now. But that just shows you how things can start on here and then go. We should start a transfer rumour. That would be good fun. What's that I'm hearing? Manchester United are going to sell Cavani. Ooh, no, we're not really. That's a joke. Don't start sending it around. But somebody would pick it up if it was true. I don't want Donny to go. I would like us to bring in a Camavinga or a Saul Niguez, definitely. Also, just about Ahmad. Ahmad was very close to joining Parma last summer. Only paperwork was left. And at the moment, Man United jumped in and signed him on deadline day. But yeah, I mean, that's just Fabrizio Romano there. Repeating something that is very significant and very, very true. That we did try to get, we did jump in on that Diallo deal very, very late. And I do think that brings us nicely onto the next section, really, is that with Varane almost done and Sancho basically done, there is still a lot of time left in this transfer window. If we were to get Varane done, even in the next week, it's still not the end of July. And you've still got all of August. It'd be impressive from United if they can get that level of deal done comfortably before that first game against Leeds. Yeah,
and definitely we talk about how tough last pre-season was, and the fact that we didn't have the match fitness going into it, which is why we struggled at the beginning. Let's hit the ground running, get all the players, all the signings done now, so that they can work together and they hit that Leeds game head on. But more, I think just as important, Mark, is we've got to get bodies out of the door. There's deadwood there that are going to have a negative attitude towards being at the club because they're not playing, they're not getting game time. That negativity can spread. You know what it's like when you've got one bad apple amongst the team. Naturally, it spreads. There's going to be people there that don't want to be there, that are not playing, not happy. Someone's got to be moving these players on. Get them out on loan, swap them, do whatever we need to do. But we've got to move players out just as important as bring players in. We want Ollie to be working with the core squad that he plans to work with for the entire season and not be carrying deadwood.
Liam Collins says, are you nervous over the Varane deal? Can't help feel it's got heartbreak written all over it. No, I mean, look, anything can happen in football. It would be massively, massively disappointing if it didn't happen. But I personally don't feel that there's any concern about it, and I haven't had any concern about it for a few weeks now. I think we'll absolutely be fine. One thing I did want to ask you, Jordan, I mentioned it on the afternoon show today. We were sort of like going through all the players that Ollie's bought. If we were to buy a midfielder, you're talking about 450 million plus, but he's spent over 400 million pounds, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Not net spend, but spend. If you add up all the signings, he's well over 400 million quid in. How many years has he actually been officially manager? Is it
2.5? It's three in December. Oh, official manager. Or are we talking about it?
So he's only been manager for 2.5 years then officially.
2.5 years.
Yeah. 400 million over that period has been spent. What should you be? Manu says, what's the net spend? God knows, probably about 300 million. But it's still a lot of money. What are you thinking from next season? What do you think he's got to do next season?
I don't know. It's a weird with Ollie because it's talking about Beth and the McFred thing earlier. Me and Beth love to agree to disagree, but I always say to her that anytime we sign a United player that doesn't work out, so like a Van de Beek, everybody goes, yeah, but that's not Ollie's signing. He was signed under Ollie's reign, and then a player that does work out, we go, oh, that was Ollie's signing. They're all Ollie signings. If Ollie isn't man enough to sit in the boardroom and say to the owners, I do not want this player, then but they still get signed under his reign, he's got to take ownership for those players. I think the type of players we're now being linked with, there is no excuse. There's no grey areas. We're talking about absolute ballers, proven ballers. So come Christmas, if we're not in a competitive position in the league and comfortably going into the knockout phase of the Champions League, it then is on Ollie's shoulders.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's just so hard to predict what we can do next season. But I see the positives in it. I see the positives of the fact that we've bought in Varane. Well, looks like we're going to bring Varane. We bought Sancho in. We bought Maguire in. Bringing these quality of players in really, really makes a hell of a lot of difference. And I think that, all I ever want, and I've said this many times before, I just don't want to go into a season like I did last season where I already felt like the excuses were there because we didn't get a centre-back and we didn't get a right winger. Same with Mourinho, the season he got sacked. Look, I was happy he got sacked, but I also knew we'd had a crap summer transfer window, having finished second. That, to me, is the big thing. But I do agree with what a lot of people are saying. We've got to cut some of this deadwood over the next few weeks. And, you know, probably about 5 or 6 players. And I don't know whether we're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, we don't. Someone in the comments then saying about, you know, what players have already signed and not played. Well, Dan James is signing, Ahmad's is signing, Lestri's is signing, Van der Beek's is signing, but we don't talk about those. We say they're not, you know, they're not his signings because he didn't want them. But, you know, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. Some go right, some go wrong. But ultimately, he spent 400 million. So this window now, it really is make or break. And I said this before. For me, this is now one of the most important transfer windows that we've had post-Fergie because we finished second. Was that an overinflated second position, or are we going to crack on now and take things to that next level? And I really hope with the players we're talking about bringing in, that is, we're going to go for Man City.
Definitely. Well, look, I've really enjoyed the show tonight. It's something new that we're trying where we just, you know, sit back and go through the news. There was so much news tonight. I just was going to be overwhelmed with it. So I appreciate Jordan dropping on the show tonight. Really appreciate that, Jordan.
Loved it. Anytime. Love it.
And thanks everyone in the chat. You've been most helpful as ever, giving us your opinion and interacting. So I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. People are saying Gabriel Varane. I must have said Gabriel Varane. I obviously got mixed up with Gabriel Heinze and Sebastian Varane. But I know who I was talking about. I was talking about the bold guy who played in midfield, who was world class, but it didn't quite work out. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully, at some point in the next couple of days, or maybe 3 or 4 days, we'll get something with Varane. Here we go from Romano. I certainly know that from last night or yesterday afternoon when I spoke about him, that he was very, very, very excited about it. But we'll see whether it happens this week or not. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like, and we'll speak to you all very soon.